Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Hey there, everybody, it's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards, get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. It's time for the first look with me and my friend, Trevor Hillstrom, Trust and Trevor. And of course, his dog, Sasha. Maybe she'll have a pick for us later. You never know. Trevor, your Vikings. What's that?
She's picking the Vikings.
She is. Well, I was going to ask you that. Your Vikings looked really good last week. Talk to me. Is it that they played the Giants, or is it that they're really good?
Well, I don't think they're really good at any point. I mean, it's great that they looked as good as they did. There's improvements. Their defense is much faster. Aaron Jones is a big difference compared to what they had, a bigger difference than I thought he was going to be. Are they great? No. We'll see what they do this week against the 49ers. Revenge game for the Niners. The Vikings beat them there last year when Danger was there. So let's hope Danger's team loses again.
You never know. You never know. All right, let's get it. So the point of the first look is to take a first look at the main slate DFS to get just initial impressions, because, you know, my studying starts basically after waivers are over tonight, to be honest with you. So once my redraft league waivers go, then I start to delve in. So I wanted to figure out how to do that right now. So, Trevor, taking a look at the quarterback position, who were the first guys that you gave a first look to that you're like, you know what, I think I'm going to build my teams around these guys?
Well, first off, it was Pat Mahomes. He's got a good matchup against the Bengals. And then I'm looking at the pay down guys, or more of the pay down guys. Well, Lamar's got a good matchup too. I mean he's always in play. But the pay down guys, you're not going to like this. I kind of like Daniel Jones this week, and I like Jaden Daniels this week. I think that game has a chance to go over the total.
Well, all right. So let's break it down one by one here.
Yeah.
I'm with you on Mahomes. I think this is a really good game for him. I think my only fear about that is maybe the ownership is a little higher than I want it to be. I mean, we don't want our quarterbacks at 13-15%, which I think Mahomes might sneak up to. The question I have about Lamar for you is, man, you could run on the Raiders. The Chargers are still running. I mean, I think J.K. Dobbins is still running. Do you think they have to throw the ball, or do you think Derrick Henry becomes a better play, which makes Lamar Jackson not as good?
Yeah, that's one worry I have about Lamar, is Henry having a really good game. But, you know, I went back and I looked at that Chargers game, and, you know, they had Dobbins held up, and while Dobbins didn't really run the ball in the second half, but, you know, most of his yards came on three carries. So
True.
They could stack the box. They're a little bit, well, the Chargers are pretty easy to guard against the pass right now too. So, yeah, Lamar's just always in play, especially at home. You just never know what kind of game you're going to get with him.
That is true as well. It's funny. King to Icon put up Watson and Cooper. I don't know if I like Watson, but I don't dislike the Jaguars. I think that Cleveland Jaguar game could be very sneaky that people are overlooking.
I love Cooper. I think he's going to have a good game. I really do. I think, he's going to have low ownership, I'm sure. He dropped a nice, easy 50-yard touchdown pass last week. I think he's going to be focused, and I kind of like him in this game.
I do too. All right, let's get back to that game. You mentioned the Giants against the Commanders. The Commanders can't stop anybody.
No.
But their pass rush is pretty good. The Giants, as we saw, their offensive line was not very good. If Daniel Jones can get 4 seconds, he might be able to find Neighbors. Does that make Neighbors a good play? Is Jones a better play than Daniels? What are your thoughts there?
I kind of think Daniels might be the better play. Jones is just one of those sneaky plays that you want to play if you're going for the Millie Maker. I mean, I wouldn't play him in like in a cash game or anything like that. I think Neighbors is going to have a good game, and I do like Wan'Dale Robinson too.
I do too. Let me ask you this about Daniels. Terry McLaurin was basically barely used last week. Deonte Banks will likely shadow him. Banks did a pretty good job against Justin Jefferson last week. Jefferson got the short touchdown, but outside of that, Banks did a pretty good job. Can Banks shut down McLaurin? And if he does, now all of a sudden, all you're getting from Jaden Daniels is his legs, not necessarily his arm.
Well, that's all we got from Daniels last week was his legs, and he scored over 20 fantasy points. He did have to score twice, but it looks like he's going to be the main option at the goal line. It looks like he's going to be running in the majority of the goal line offense there. Yeah, Banks can shut down McLaurin. But the reason why Banks shut down Jefferson second half is the Vikings didn't throw the football.
They didn't. That's true. All right, let me give you some games that I think are interesting, and I want to get your take on them. I think Dallas against the Saints might be higher scoring than people expect. I think Dak to Lamb could, maybe bringing it back with an Olave, might be lower owned. Can you get behind that, or does that feel too risky?
Well, I kind of like Kamara better because I think they're going to have to dump it off a little bit more. Kamara's going to catch, he's going to catch 5-6 balls. I don't know how many Olave he's going to catch. It always seems like those Saints receivers always let you down, except for Shaheed. Shaheed actually seems to be the better play in most weeks because he's so much cheaper.
Absolutely, and he was great against the cover 3 last week.
Right.
All right, what about the Tampa Detroit game? I think people look. Jared Goff only threw for 207 yards last week. I don't think that's going to happen in week 2. I think this week it corrects. Do you think Goff? I think his prop bet is like 265 or something like that.
Yeah, I think Goff and the Lions are, they got the highest total game on the board. So they're expected to score 30 points. I don't know if I like Goff. I think he can throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. That gets him about 24 points. I think this week you're going to need 30 from your quarterback. Maybe he throws for 350. Tampa can bring it back the other way. I mean, this could be that shootout game that happened a couple of years ago between Seattle and Detroit. I mean, this could be that type of game again.
This could be, right. I mean, that's how Alicia won her million picking that game. All right, let me throw out one more, and don't hate me now. What if I tell you I like a Brock Purdy with a Debo and an Ayuk stack going on there against your Vikings?
Yeah, I just wrote about that in my article that's coming out, the Trust and Trevor article. I do like the Niners. I think they're going to be very focused. There's got to be some type of pride and revenge on their mind after losing in Minneapolis last week or last year, and there was some jawing going on. So, I like Ayuk especially. I think the Vikings will pay more attention to Debo, but I do like Ayuk. I don't like Kittle. I think the Vikings love the blitz. I think he's going to be pass blocking more than receiver. But, I mean, the Vikings are going to leave their corners on an island, and, Ayuk and Samuel can definitely take care of that. And we'll see what running back is playing on Sunday, too. That'll have a little bit to do with what's going on as well.
All right, I don't want to bet your house, but I'll bet somebody's house that I think it's going to be Jordan Mason. So let's talk about running back. Is Mason a must play, or I'm thinking of fading him, and that might be a big risk on my end. But I'm thinking, look, I got to take a stand somewhere, and I think my stand may be he's not going to do this week what he did last week.
I wouldn't expect that he does what he did last week, but I hate to call anybody a must play. It seems like every time there's a must play, it seems like they falter. There's been a couple of times where the must play is hit. I mean, actually it happens quite a bit, but it's more in the receivers. Running backs are so volatile because he wasn't involved much in the passing game. Most of his yards, he had 125 yards rushing, touchdown. I don't think he's going to do that against the Vikes. I think they're going to have to air it out.
All right, so let's get to the running back situation up top. You got your Taylors, your Halls, your ETNs, your Pacheco, Kyron. I mean, a lot of big names there. I think a lot of people are thinking Breece Hall because he really didn't get the football a lot because they were behind in this game. Is this a Breece Hall week?
Not for me. I do realize, he can score from anywhere on the field. I mean, he can bust one for 90 yards, but Tennessee's got a pretty good front. I'm not, I think Taylor's in a better spot. Kyron's in a better spot. There's other pay down options that I think are in a better spot than him. So
what about Kyron? And I'll say this, it felt to me that the Bills stopped going with the running game last week. I mean, Allen was their running back, but Cook was thriving. Ray Davis was thriving. Is this one of those weeks that Kyron does what Kyron does and he gets 20 carries?
Well, he had 20 plus touches last week. He seems to get 20 plus. When he's healthy, he's a 20 plus or 20 touch plus guy. So, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to score. I mean, he seems to score every week he's in there. So, yeah, I think Kyron's going to get the ball 20 plus times.
All right, we mentioned Derrick Henry earlier. We both like him. We think he's in a really good spot. Let's talk about the Chargers. Carolina is really bad. And Derek Brown, I don't know if people saw that. Derek Brown is out for the year, and he's their best defensive tackle who stops the run. So now you don't have Brown. You already were bad. Is this a Dobbins? Is this a Gus Edwards week? What are you doing?
Well, for DFS, you know, Dobbins looks like the safest play, but Edwards is going to be the lower owned play that people are going to fade, and he might be the guy that gets the goal line carries. We don't know. He could be the guy that pops off big yards right away, and will they go away from him? You know, or will Dobbins, because of what he had last week, will he get a bump and get more majority of the carries? So it's hard to predict who's going to do what, but both of them could get the ball 15 times depending on the game script.
If you watch Dobbins, he was getting tired after like 25 yards. He couldn't take that to the house. No. So I don't disagree with you, by the way. I think the sneakier play is actually Gus Edwards this week. Yes. I love a Gus Edwards anytime touchdown this week. Love that.
I think he scores. Yeah, I wrote that in my article too. I think he's getting in the end zone.
All right, let me ask you about guys like Ramondre Stevenson. He was pretty good last week. Maybe Najee Harris against a really bad Broncos front. What are your thoughts there?
Well, first with Stevenson, 28 touches last week, just on volume alone. I mean, he's got to be considered because you get 28 total touches. I mean, that's, you know, maybe Seattle takes a lead and he doesn't get that, but he's a good pass catcher too. So Brissett isn't chucking the ball way downfield anytime soon. So, you know, Stevenson has to be considered. And who was the other guy? Oh, Najee Harris. Well, he touched it 20 times last week, and they should run all over Denver. But Warren last week, he just got cleared to play last week. They're expecting him to have a bigger role this week. But I think Najee scores. But if you're going by me, I've got all these running backs scoring, and that never happens.
Right. Well, hey, I like the aggressiveness. Let me ask you about who was a player I wanted to – you mentioned Kamara, who I do like. Two players in the same game. I think Cleveland-Jacksonville is going to be a higher scoring game than most.
Probably, yes.
ETN was this close to scoring and putting that game on ice. Yeah. Doug Peterson has already said he's going to go back to him this week. Let's talk about ETN, who I do like, and let's talk about Jerome Ford, who, if Cleveland's playing well, maybe Jerome Ford is sneaky too.
I was going over the article today, and I kind of was skimming over the Browns, and I didn't realize that Ford had 19 fantasy points last week. He fell into the end zone, and I think he had 5 catches in the game. So they're using him in the passing game. So yeah, he's definitely in play because there's nobody challenging him at back. ETN, they went right back to him after he fumbled last week too. But the thing I worry about is Bigsby is playing a bigger role there. So it might take away some of his volume.
All right, let's get to receivers. I mentioned CD Lamb before in a game where you have to think Dallas is going to play well yet again. Let me ask you about a couple other guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown did nothing last week. This is a week 2 is the week of correction, right? Drake London stinks, he's better. Amon-Ra St. Brown is bad, he's better. Is St. Brown a must-play this week in your mind?
No, he's not a must-play because I don't know how much volume J-Mo is going to get there, Jameson Williams. I do like St. Brown. I think you can play him. I mean, I'm going to play him in a lot of lineups, but I'm not going to must-play him like I have in the past. Because I think Gibbs is going to be, Gibbs is so involved in that, and Laporta didn't. Well, he had a few catches, but they're going to try to get the ball to him. I think this increased bump with Jameson Williams is going to be a trend.
I guess the question is, I like Jameson Williams more in the dome than I do outside the dome, to be quite honest with you, especially with Goff throwing deep. I don't trust him. So this could be a game that he does something. But Tampa plays the cover 2 defense. Yeah. That's better for zone guys like St. Brown and not for Jameson.
Right.
Just
although Jameson burned Tampa last year deep.
Did. All right, let me ask you about Cooper Kupp and the Rams. Cooper Kupp is going to cost you a ton of money, but all those other Ram receivers, Robinson, Johnson, Whittington, all those guys are going to be dirt cheap. Which of those guys are you playing?
I think if any receiver is almost a must play, it's Kupp. I mean, this guy, 14 catches. I mean, he would have had, if they would have won the toss, he would have got 16, 17 catches. I mean, this guy is who Stafford's looking at. And now with Nakua gone, I don't think Arizona has anybody that can cover him. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Unless, let me ask you this. The fact that Nakua is not there, can you double him can you pull the safety over? Or does it not matter because they move him around so much out of the backfield?
They move him around so much, and the routes he runs are just perfect. I mean, I just can't see it.
All right, let me get to a Cooper Kupp clone, different team. Chris Godwin, does he have the Cooper Kupp role for the Buccaneers against the Lions? And the Lions may not let Mike Evans beat them deep.
Yeah, I like Godwin this week more than Evans. I think they won't let Evans beat him deep. You look at the 2 touchdowns that Evans scored last week. I mean, did you see those catches? Those were phenomenal catches. Godwin just seems to get open. He's underneath. He's intermediate. He's really good. Another guy from that game is that McMillan. Now, McMillan had a touchdown last week. He was wide open for another touchdown, and Mayfield missed him. I mean, Mayfield could have had 5 touchdown passes last week, which I would have loved because I had him everywhere last week.
Yeah, I like Mayfield. I've been talking about him on the radio for months now. All right, we mentioned Malik Neighbors. Let me ask you about DK Metcalf, who, look, they didn't need to throw last week. They were winning that game. They didn't need to throw. New England's one of those annoying teams because the game, is going to be low scoring, not a lot of passing. Is there any way that JSN or Metcalf become usable?
Metcalf probably is because he can be matchup proof. They can hit him deep, but JSN I'm staying away from. I mean, he'll have that one DFS game out of every 10 that's going to win you the money. That's just not good enough odds for me. I'm going to probably stay away from this game because I just can't stand playing Patriot games. Just
All right. What about Rashee Rice against Cincinnati?
Oh, he's always in play. I mean, you've seen how much Mahomes likes to go to him. I mean, he's if I'm not having Rice in the lineup, I'm probably gonna have Pacheco in the lineup. So one of those guys is going to bust or going to break out for a good game, and I think Rice will score. He didn't get in last week. I think he's going to get in this week.
I do too. I think he's got a good shot. Are there any other guys that I'm missing? I know Alan Lazard. Is he is he Rodgers' guy?
Well, Rodgers loves him. I mean, they played together. He's advocated for him to be on the team. So, I don't think Lazard is going away anytime soon. Now, he's not going to have a game like he had Monday night where he had 2 touchdowns. He had a free play touchdown and then got one at the end there. But I think he's going to be viable. I mean, his price is dirt cheap. But I think for this week, I think everybody's going to go to him. I think they're going to try to find that cheap piece, and he's going to be one of them. And I'm going to be out on him this week, but I'm going forward. I do like him.
All right, I'm giving you other cheaper guys. What about the kid from Denver, Vele? You mentioned McMillan. Yoshevich, do you like Yoshevich at all?
I like Yoshevich again this week because he did nothing last week. He was open. Burrow kind of looks a little off, but this is the week where I think Kansas City will be happy to allow some catches underneath to allow to cover Chase. I'm not on Chase this week.
So Yoshevich might be a good start this week in DFS.
Yeah, that's who I like. I like Yoshevich.
Yeah.
I can never pronounce his name.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good play because I think, like you said, the Chiefs are going to let the Bengals get anything underneath and not beat them deep. I'm going to put 2 guys on Chase. Now, somebody earlier, JS mentioned Chase Brown. Is this a Chase Brown week or a Gesicki week?
Gesicki, I like. I like Gesicki a little bit. He dropped a touchdown last week. I mean, it was right in his hands. Now, I know Kansas City, they gave up some yards to Likely, but Gesicki's not as good as Likely, so we can kind of take that out. But Gesicki, he's another guy that can get underneath. He scores a touchdown somehow. If he gets 4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown, I mean, he's going to be in a winning lineup as long as the other tight ends don't blow it up.
All right,
let's blow this up.
Let's get to tight end. You met Travis Kelce, Trey McBride, Sam Laporta. McBride and Laporta did not do anything last week. That was a little frustrating.
Right. McBride had a drop or two, and he met. Murray missed him for a touchdown too. I mean, it was like a 20-yard touchdown. He was open. He just threw it a little bit over him. So I do like that. The guy I really like. Here's a guy that's 3,100 on DraftKings. I'm going to play him in a few lineups. Colby Parkinson. He's a big target. I think he's going to be more involved in the passing game now that Nakua is out. I really like Parkinson as a sleeper. But as far as your big top name tight ends, I just seen them where somebody said Andrews will score. I kind of had that inclination that everybody's going to go to Likely. And I'm thinking, well, this might be the time Andrews at home, against the Raiders. I always expect more from the Raiders defense, but, I don't think so. And I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm trying to think of the other guy.
No. I like King Tycon's call there because our brains say we watched Likely, we see it, but then we see Andrews not doing that much. So now when we look at it, we can't. And let me see the dollar amounts. We see Andrews at $5K, and our brains say I'm never doing that when Ben Likely is 4,800. I could just go up to Kittle or I can go down to Anger, whatever it is.
Right.
And then all of a sudden Andrews gets 2 touchdowns because that's what Mark Andrews does.
Yep.
What about Brock Bowers?
I think he's a solid play. He did pretty good last week. He just didn't get in the end zone. If he got in the end zone last week, he's in the winning lineups for tight end. There wasn't a lot of big weeks for tight ends on the main slate last week. So, I'm expecting a little bit more this week. So, he's going to have to score a touchdown.
Is Kelce a must roster? If you have 3 rosters, does he have to be on one of them?
He should be on one of them, I think. He's just the type of guy that can blow the slate up. Although last year when they played the Bengals, he was kind of held in check. But the Bengals, they lost a few people. I just don't think the Bengals are very good, and I thought that even before last week.
Well, Logan Wilson is one of my favorite cover linebackers.
Yeah.
And I don't ever think he lets Kelce have the big week. He may score, but he never lets Kelce have the big blow up 8 for 80 and 2 touchdown week. So, I'm probably going to play Rashee Rice if I go there or Pacheco.
Yeah. Here's another low price tight end is Cade Otton. Did nothing last week. Everybody's focused on those receivers. Last year in the playoffs, he had 19 fantasy points against the Lions. He scored a touchdown, and he could have scored again. Now I know the Lions have changed up a little bit, but I kind of like Otton too. If you're wanting to pay down, if you're looking for a punt tight end, Otton and Parkinson are my punt tight ends.
What about Atkins and what about Schoonmaker?
No.
Ferguson's likely not playing, and Njoku's not playing.
Yeah, I know. I just don't like their offense.
Okay. All right. Defense. Are you spending up this week? Are you spending up for the Jets? Are you spending up for Baltimore? Or are you going to be further down?
Well, I got to look to see what the prices are. But the defense that first popped off my mind is the Chargers against Carolina. They pop off your mind. And Pittsburgh against Denver. I just don't see Denver scoring many points in this game, and watch they'll be the team that breaks out. But I just can't see it against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh will be all over Knicks. Knicks is going to turn the ball over.
What about the Colts against Malik Willis?
I don't know about that. Everybody's, Malik Willis might be sneaking. Somebody can slap me for that, but Green Bay scheme.
I think Sasha's going to slap you for that.
Well, she hates the Packers too. So Malik Willis, the Packers scheme very well. They got receivers very wide. If he could just hit a couple wide open receivers, that he might do good. But he just doesn't run. I don't know.
Malik Willis runs.
I looked it up. He's not a big runner.
He's a huge runner. Huge runner.
Not the stats I've seen of late.
Because he's run for his life. But he's in college. He was a
yeah. But he seems to be. They try to make him a pocket passer. I think if they let him run around, he might do better.
Well, that was the truth.
And another guy we didn't talk about is from Green Bay is Jacobs. Now Mixon ran all over the Colts last week, so Jacobs is getting the ball because of their passing situation.
Jacobs is getting the ball 100%. I think, is he more of a start on FanDuel or DraftKings, or does it not matter?
Well, more of a start on FanDuel but I like him in any situation. He will catch passes. I mean, maybe he will with Willis, but I found it interesting that LaFleur was talking today, and he's not ruling out Love, but I think that has to be smokescreen. It has to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if I see Love out there on Sunday, that's gonna.
All right, Trevor. Why don't you do a lineup? I'll do a lineup, and we'll see what we come up with. You go first. Who do you want a quarterback?
Well, I kind of got to change my opinion now. I'm going to go with Daniel Jones.
Why are you changing your opinion?
Well, I had Fields on there, and I thought about it, and I'm like, they're going to hand the ball off in that game.
All right, so Daniel Jones. Who's your running backs?
My running backs I did have Connor.
All right,
and I did throw Dobbins in there.
Little JK. All right, who are your receivers?
Amari Cooper.
All right.
Godwin.
Yeah, we like Godwin. And?
Kupp.
Okay, you got to like Cooper Kupp. Who's your tight end?
Otten.
Oh, we like Kate Otten, right? How much is Kate Otten?
$3,600. I'm tempted to go Parkinson and pay up.
All right, give me your flex.
Neighbors.
Yeah, Neighbors is nice. Give me 1 second. Neighbors. And who's your defense?
Pittsburgh.
All right. So the optimizer that I'm using has you at 121.2.
Is that good? I'm sure it is.
Not bad. I don't know if it's winning. Let's see what I come up with. I'm gonna shock you here. I'm gonna go Brock Purdy. I'm not even gonna look at the running backs yet. I'm gonna double tap here with a little Debo and Ayuk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely gonna get Derrick Henry in. I think he scores. And I'm going to get Jerome Ford in. I'm with you on Neighbors. I think Neighbors is going to score. Tight end, I'm going to go super cheap. I'm going to go with Akins. And defense, I'm going to play it cheap. Man, who am I? All right. Yeesh. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to say Denver. Which gives me 6,300 in a flex spot. Amari Cooper. So I'm at 120.5.
Oh, we're right about the same. Yeah. I was thinking about putting Parkinson in for Otten, and then I could pay up at running back a little bit, but I would, you think I could get Ford or Pollard. Do you think Pollard can run over the Jets this week, considering the Jets were that better? Or San Francisco that much superior that Tennessee just ain't going to push the Jets around?
Look, I think, can I tell you, I told you, I don't love Caleb Williams. I think he played a horrible game.
Well,
I think the only person who played worse was Will Levis, because Tennessee was winning that game comfortably until Levis just, took a deuce right there on the field. It was horrible. But I mean, do I think that I think the Jets are going to be inspired this week, play inspired football?
Yeah, I would think so. They are the Jets, though.
I know, but you think the Jets are going 0-2? I mean, is this not almost a must-win game against Tennessee?
You would think so. But
I think Aaron Rodgers just controls the game. He wasn't able to do that because they got out to a lead, San Francisco, and he likes to set the pace, the tone, the timing. He just wasn't in rhythm.
Yeah, and the pass rush was all over him too. That's what I worry about with the Jets this week, is Tennessee does rush the passer. So
that's true. All right. Any last words before we let you go?
Go Vikes. Beat dangerous Niners. Again.
That's the words of wisdom you have?
Yeah. That's all
I
right.
have. We'll be back for Friday Night Lights about this same time with myself and Willie Walls and the great Swami Odell Blocker. And then, of course, Saturday morning from 8 to 10, you can listen to me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. And Sunday morning at 10:30, we're in our Discord at drroto.com, chatting for about 90 minutes to help you win in redraft leagues, DFS, and prop betting. For Trevor Hillstrom, Trust in Trevor, this is Dr. Roto saying be well and take care.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.